Tens of thousands of people have died from the coronavirus in this country, and yet a disturbing new movement is emerging, a coalition of anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, and conspiracy theorists who aim to throw doubt on the very existence of the virus. Now, while this scamdemic movement has received coverage from the mainstream media, there's one aspect that isn't being properly looked at, which is to what extent this new movement, to what extent that is being used as a Trojan horse to push certain far-right narratives in our country. To investigate what we see as a really concerning development which could compromise the public health approach to coronavirus and cost lives, Byline attended the scamdemic movement's rally yesterday in London's Trafalgar Square, which saw thousands of people take to the streets and resulted in clashes between some of those present and the police. We wanted to find out what is really motivating the people who believe that the government is out to trick us all and take away our liberties.
20 minutes after she was injected with all eight, I watched her little body convulse and she had a fit.
There was nothing like this for the swine flu, and there was more people died with the swine flu, but we did not wear masks, we did not get stuck in a house where we couldn't come out, we couldn't see our grandchildren. That is evil what they are doing, and it's even more evil when they will not let us go and see our parents, especially when there's a parent in the hospital dying. How would you like it if you could not see a relative dying? It's all to do with Boris and his cronies. There is something else which we haven't found out yet, but it's something that the three of them's doing, because I don't know whether you know, when you're first born, you are straight away put onto, you get a little number on your birth certificate, and you are put into a...
Well, you become property of the government then.
That's to do with the QAnon movement, where a lot of people have been at home and sitting in while COVID's going on and looking on their computers and finding out what's actually going on. QAnon is giving people lots of information, and it's asking you to use your mind, yeah? And it's the best thing. I mean, I didn't know really what was going on for years and years. Obviously there is an illness, COVID-19, but it's not to the extent that they're giving, and you're using COVID to control the population. It's as simple as that, like, you know? And as Q would say, get on your computers, go out there and get the information for yourself. Well, we're both members of the English Democrats. We know Robin, and we're trying to do as much as we can to help him.
While a variety of people attended yesterday's rally, our team spotted a noticeable right-wing presence there. At that same moment, Robin Tilbrook, the founder of the English Democrats, an organisation which has been referred to as far-right, took to the stage to address the crowds. Our team went to talk to him to find out why he was there.
Okay, so obviously I introduced myself as being the chairman of the English Democrats and tried to explain about the English Democrats and how we think we need a voice for England. And I think the coronavirus has helped make that point very forcefully. So I think there was a big mixture of people of all sorts of different types, and I think the only unifying feature of the crowd was the fact that people are deeply sceptical of exactly what the government's up to.
Who was the organiser?
Can I just say I can't really say that, because I was also asked to come along and sort of help them with any legal problems with the police, and the fact is, if we start saying who the organiser was, the police might be interested in having access to your tape.
After Robin Tilbrook told our team that he had been invited to the rally, having had a conversation with Kate Shemirani, the de facto face of the scamdemic movement, we wanted to talk to Kate to get a better idea of exactly what the relationship is between the English Democrats and the scamdemic group. So you described yourself not as a movement, but as a group. And so is there any synergy between the group and the organisations such as the English Democrats? Obviously they attended the rally yesterday. They've been offering legal advice. Some people may be concerned by the fact that the English Democrats are associated with quite hard right views. Is that something that concerns you, that the group that you're part of, is being linked with the English Democrats? Or, as you said, you kind of all share opinions. I mean, just want to understand a bit more about the synergy between what this group is doing and the English Democrats.
If you look at my surname is a Middle Eastern name. My children are half Middle Eastern, they're half Iranian. I think to start trying to push me into a lane of which I am not is not who I am. Now, I might share some of the views of the English Democrats. I am English. I was born in England. I was raised in England. And I will say this, I have black friends. But when I see the police taking one knee at a Black Lives Matter rally, I'm disgusted. That is what I'm about. So whatever group has come together, whatever their views are, whether you talk of it as synergy, there is an overlap of all of us, and we all have one or two maybe core values. Even, you have the World Health Organization ran by Tedros the terrorist. He's not even a doctor of medicine. So now when I liken this to Auschwitz and the cattle trucks, you tell me the difference, because the only time in history when I can find where the nurses and the doctors were allowed to end people's lives was the nurses of the Third Reich, where they took the disabled, the elderly, the epileptics, the children that were disabled. They took them into these places, institutions. They removed food, water. They gave them cocktails of drugs to kill them. The nurses of the Third Reich are here today, and we now have the nurses and doctors.
But where is the evidence for what you're saying, Kate, around you likening this to Auschwitz and the Holocaust, which I think a lot of people will find deeply offensive? Where is the evidence?
I don't care if they find it offensive. I find it offensive that our elderly have been murdered in care homes. Stop being a special snowflake and saying you're offended. They are killing our elderly, our most vulnerable. Now, going back to the Black Lives Matter, the leading cause of death amongst the black African Americans is abortion, funded by governments, started as Planned Parenthood. And I said, this is no different to the death camps. And then I called the ambulances, the cattle trucks. When I see, and I have testimonies from relatives and healthcare professionals, that people have been taken into hospitals and murdered using midazolam and morphine. What else do we call it? I call it genocide. So I'm sorry, in South Africa, where men, women and children, white farmers are being slaughtered and raped. This is an agenda, the Strong Cities Alliance. I believe it's called Alliance, I might be wrong, with Strong Cities. A lot of funding by George Soros. And incidentally, going back to the Jewish thing, someone called me anti-Semitic. It's ridiculous, because I said that George Soros has funded Black Lives Matter, which is well known, it's documented. So I'm not anti-Jewish. I have Jewish friends, they know me well. I am science-led and I am law-led, and I have joined up with people with the same opinions. You saw Robin Tilbrook there yesterday, who's chair of the English Democrats. Mm-hmm. You saw David Curtin, who's part of the English Assembly, I believe, and he's running from there.
How would you describe yourself in terms of, have you always been someone who's politically engaged? Are you politically skeptical? Do you trust politicians in general? Have you always, how would you describe yourself in terms of a citizen?
Well,
or trust in our democratic system?
In part, we seem to have always, through history, had a lot of paedophiles in governments. And one would argue, do they become paedophiles? No, they're chosen because of their deviance. So I am well behind David Curtin. I am well behind Robin Tilbrook. Do I have political motivations? I do believe that we use the law of this land to vote a vote of no confidence against the government that is in power. Absolutely.
So talking to Kate Shemirani was eye-opening, and our conversation has also left me concerned. She's part of a group that ostensibly isn't right-wing or pushing far-right narratives, and yet A lot of what she said did have echoes of those same talking points. The talk of traitors and genocide, QAnon conspiracy theories such as paedophiles in government, mentioning George Soros, and the quite shocking comparisons of COVID-19 to the Holocaust and Auschwitz. It must be asked, to what extent is the scamdemic movement being used as a vehicle for something altogether darker?